It's really a pleasure to be here. I grew up in Fort Smith, and I had the opportunity to get a scholarship to the University of Arkansas. I decided that I would go instead of finishing out the semester. I thought it would be easier at the University of Arkansas than practicing at Northside. As soon as I got there, I knew I made a big mistake. It was very difficult. On a very hot summer day, I tackled the starting fullback for the Razorbacks, and as he was going down, he kicked me in the mouth and broke out one of my teeth. I knew right then that I was addled and in trouble. I got up and I thought, well, at least I'm going to get to go in early because I was so tired. The offensive coordinator, though, looked at me and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, I've broken out one of my teeth." And he said, "That's okay, line up, we'll deal with that later." I knew right then, by the way, Mr. Brummett, I cleared that with the chancellor. He said it was okay to do I knew right then that I wasn't in high school anymore. I was in the big leagues, and that I had to step it up. We hear a lot about this election or that election being so important. I really believe that the election that's happening right now is the most important in my generation. What we're trying to do is decide, are we going to do the tax and spend and borrow mentality that we're seeing coming out of the Obama administration? Or are we going to go back to the free market approach that's made this country great, where we relied on individuals, where we relied on tax cuts to businesses, getting out of the way with regulation? That's the answer to our problems. Senator Lincoln is a good friend. She's somebody that I admire, and yet we can't afford her anymore. When push comes to shove, 95% of the time, she's voted with the Obama administration.
All right, Senator Lincoln.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Roby Brock for helping to organize this along with Fox 16. Also want to say a special thanks to the great hospitality of the Peabody. You know, in my travels across the state of Arkansas, I've definitely heard from people, and there is no doubt that jobs and the economy are the #1 things on their minds. Helping Arkansas small businesses create jobs as well as Arkansas industries and putting our economy back on track is, I think, our #1 focus. As the first Arkansan to ever chair the Senate Committee on Agriculture, my mission is to make sure that that committee is going to be a pipeline for jobs and opportunities for our state. 270,000 Arkansans work in ag-related jobs. It means about $16 billion to our economy annually, and it's a critical part. But conservation, rural development, renewable energy, nutrition, all are very critical issues for us. Elections are about choices, and there are some very major differences between Congressman Boozman and myself, and these differences matter. I've fought against privatizing Social Security and Medicare, and Congressman Boozman has endorsed privatization plans for both. I'm for overhauling the tax code, no doubt, and simplifying it for small business owners and working families while preserving very important deductions like mortgage interest deduction and college tuition. Congressman Boozman would create a new 23% sales tax on federal sales tax on everything you purchase. The economist for former President Reagan and Bush agrees that it's not a good plan for anybody. I don't think it's a good plan for Arkansans. I not only talk about federal investments in Arkansas infrastructure as a way to promote jobs for Arkansas, I vote that way too. Congressman Boozman has chosen to put his party line ahead of the needs of Arkansas in terms of those resources. I'm an independent voice for Arkansas, and I work hard. Some say I'm too liberal, some say I'm too conservative. I think that puts me square in the middle where most Arkansans are, and that's working hard for our Arkansas values and standing up for what's good for Arkansas. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Our first question will come from Mr. John Brummett of Stevens Media. It is for Congressman Boozman.
Congressman, the main dynamic in this race seems to be that Senator Lincoln is well positioned to direct money to the state as Senate Agriculture Committee Chairman, and you are part of a Republican moratorium on spending. That seems to be the major difference. Does that not mean that you're asking the people of Arkansas to send you to the Senate so you can deliver less for them than Senator Lincoln would?
No, not at all. The Republicans have placed a moratorium on earmarks because we've got to decide what an earmark is. You have situations like the Teapot Museum, and then you have other situations that I worked very hard to get the earmarks for the Ozark Dam to retrofit the turbines there so that when the power is bought, for every dollar that the government spends, we get $1.40 back. that's good spending. That's where it needs to be directed. So we need to look at it. Right now, the deficit is such that we're going to spend almost $1.5 trillion in deficit this year. It's unsustainable. Everybody says that, but we have to take the steps. We've got to get on the stick and actually do something about this. Admiral Mullen testified before Congress a few weeks ago. They asked him what the greatest threat was to our national security. He didn't say Al-Qaeda. He didn't say Iran or radical Islam. He said the greatest threat to us was the debt, that in a few short years, the interest on the debt would actually be more than we spend on defense. So no, I don't think that's true at all. You have to have a balance. Certainly there are good projects. I've worked hard to bring those in the past. Right now, though, we do have to draw the line. We've got to get serious about the spending. If not, then we're going to bankrupt the country. Seniors have figured out if the president bankrupts the country, there is no money for Social Security, there is no money for Medicare or anything else.
Senator Lincoln, you have 90 seconds.
Well, I think it's important to look at deficits, and there's no doubt that I supported deficit reduction, whether it is in the Bipartisan Debt Commission, whether it's the willingness to vote for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget, or to look at spending cuts, which I have supported. And I have been certainly willing to look at spending cuts that make a difference, programs that are inefficient, things that we just can't afford right now. But the fact is, these are budgeted dollars. They are paid for dollars that provide us as Arkansans in a small rural state an ability to equalize what it is that we get from the federal government. We send more money to Washington than we get back, and as a state, we have an opportunity, and as a senator, I have an opportunity to fight hard for these programs that mean a lot for Arkansas. It is the great equalizer. We can't compete with larger states who go for grant dollars and agency dollars that we don't have the capacity to go for. But this is a place where we can actually make a difference as an equalizer. These are dollars to Arkansas that make a difference. If he's going to continue a moratorium through the time that we have a debt, it's going to be a moratorium next year and the year after. The fact is Arkansas in the 3rd Congressional District got $0 in the House Transportation Appropriations Bill because it wasn't requested. I think it's important for us as a state to stand up for those budgeted dollars that are paid for, that are important to infrastructure projects in Arkansas. I have no problem with reforming the program, and I've done that. I put my name beside anything I request. It's in the public, and it's visible to everybody.
All right, under the terms of the debate, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, the moratorium is until early next year. And at that time, and again, this is just on the House Republican side. This does not apply to the Senate. The Senate Republicans have not decided to do this. But in regard to the House Republicans, which I supported, it applies to early next year, and then they will get on the stick. Now, Senator Lincoln accused our Lieutenant Governor of getting us in a situation where the unions were trying to buy our state. Now we have a situation where President Obama is running all around the country to every Democratic district in the country, doling out millions of dollars. So the same thing is going on here. The reality is, though, this is not union money. This is your money. It is not paid for. 42 cents of every dollar that we're spending right now is deficit spent. That's adding to the debt. And again, at some point, that money simply has to be paid back.
Senator Lincoln, you may rebut.
Well, I don't think running around, I don't see anybody running around giving us money. We fought hard for money in these appropriations processes for whether it's the Bella Vista bypass or whether it's the REAP grant programs that for rural energy assistance programs. If you're looking at libraries and the library needs that we have across this state, those are programs we fight hard for. And those dollars through the appropriations process that are budgeted and paid for, we do fight hard. The problem is this year, I had no help on the House side. Congressman's right, he's helped in years past, and maybe he'll help in years future. I don't know what kind of agreements he's going to ask or sign on to. But the fact is he signed on with his party above his state and his congressional district, and they're getting nothing out of that transportation bill, and I'm going to have to carry the whole load from the Senate side to make sure that we do get our fair share.
All right. Mr. Ockert, the next question is yours. It goes to Senator Lincoln.
Well, Senator Lincoln, speaking of people giving us money, I'd like to talk about the farm aid disaster